Welcome to Vibrant Living Conversations. I'm your host, Gemma Putty. This podcast is where I explore vibrant living out loud through real conversations, imperfect, curious, and deeply human, with inspiring people here in the inland Northwest and beyond. Together, we explore what it really means to live well, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, in a way that's intentional, grounded, and realistic. Through topics such as conscious living, personal growth, intuitive spirituality, mamahood, wellness, creativity, and the rhythms of everyday life. This podcast embraces authenticity over perfection and humanity over purity to ultimately glow from the inside out. For this conversation, I'm joined by Chelsey Peacock, traveler, nature lover, yogi, and founder of Mayura Yoga Collective in SandPoint. I attended one of Chelsey's yoga retreats in Canada last November for an amazing few nights away with a variety of yoga, hot springs, a massage from our co-host Ruby, nature, cacao, healing bowl session, guided reflection, meditation, and just sisterhood. It was so epic. I'm thrilled to have her here today to connect more and share her light with all of you. So welcome, Chelsey. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so happy to be here and to reconnect with you again. And yeah.
Isn't that crazy to think that was in November? Like so much has happened between then.
Everything you were saying, I was having flashbacks and just like, oh gosh, like what a great, weekend. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, it truly was. Well, let's dive in by you just sharing like the highlights of your journey, because I know there's a lot that I don't even know about. So I'm excited just to hear what it's taken for you to get to where you are today.
Yeah, so I guess it all started with me discovering yoga. It was recommended to me by my, meditation therapist back in, I think 2011 maybe. And I kind of kept pushing it off. I'm like, no, I don't think yoga's for me. And then I went and she was right. And I think like many, it started like a physical practice, like just a way to move my body. I was going to hot yoga, so a way to sweat, and it turned into something really beautiful. I think it became this like devotion for myself and a place where I could truly find peace and just feel at home in my body amongst like everything that's going outside of, that room. And like after about a year of practicing, I was like, all right, I need to know more about this. I grew up in a very, I went to a Catholic school my whole life. So this and always felt out of alignment there. And like, this felt like, whoa, like, what is this? And I need to kind of learn more. And I decided to do my 200-hour teacher training in 2012, and I think I completed it in 2013 and started teaching and was like excited to go for it right away. Got an opportunity at a place in Fort Collins, Colorado. So that's where I was living at the time. Yeah.
Amazing. That's so interesting because I think I probably started about the same time doing yoga because Tasha was doing yoga and she was like loving yoga, our mutual friend Tasha. And I was like, but I started with power yoga. I was like, I'm going to get a good workout. It's going to be an hour. I'm going to be sweating. But it's like you suddenly evolves into a whole nother realm of like you're saying, like the practice of yoga is so much more than the physical movement, right? It is so much more than that. But I'll let you elaborate on that. I'm sure as your journey unraveled with training and all of it.
Yeah. I mean, I started with power yoga too, like core power yoga. Love it. Like happy to come from like have that be a part of like my roots, I would totally say like I'm like a mutt. I love to learn from like different styles of yoga, and I actually ended up not doing my training with core power, even though I was like practicing there quite a bit. I'm like a little bit of a rebel in that like it would have made sense for me to like go to core power's teacher training, but like what's this other like it felt more of a spiritual place. It's Omanada Yoga in Fort Collins. They're downtown Fort Collins, Colorado. And a teacher I really loved did her training there. And I just felt like that was like where I needed to go. So I'm so happy I did it there. it like reinforced like the meditation piece for me, which was like what kind of brought me to yoga. Was like I was doing a little bit of therapy, a little bit of meditation, some sound healing. And so like that meditation piece was incorporated in the program, but there was just like so much more. I really loved like, the Hindu gods and goddess stories like behind that for whatever reason, like it just like, it's metaphors for just like what we're going through and how we can move forward. So those were like some pieces that stood out. And then obviously my teacher Sharda, who I love and I'm like still in contact with. I actually just reconnected with her last summer when they were up here traveling. Yeah, so I did that training, and then a few years later, I did my 300 with Omananda as well to keep things consistent. And then I'm like a forever student. I'm been doing little
Yes, I
like,
love that.
yeah, continuing education with Jason Crandall, who I don't know if you're familiar with her, and Janet Stone out of California. And
What's their yoga? I recognize that name. What's their yoga studio?
um, Jason Crandall has, I think he used to I don't know if he owned it or was a part of Love Story Yoga. I think it was in San Diego,
Okay.
but he is like very anatomy focused, which is like, yeah, I came from a studio that was very anatomy focused and really
Yeah.
growth focused in Fort Collins, Meraki Yoga Studio, shout out. And uh, so Jason, yeah, I think Jason Crandall's really anatomy focused, and I've taken his like sequencing courses, and gosh, what was the most recent one? Yoga for injuries, which was really cool. As I get older, I start noticing things, and my like same with my students. Like we all are just moving in our bodies. So
Yeah.
yeah, and Janet Stone, she has an online community based out of California also. I just did her restorative training this winter. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, and I mean, there's so many different kinds of yoga, right? So having that like learner's mentality and having yoga as this literal entire practice that can support you in whether you're have like an injury or you are trying to go to sleep or you're like looking for a good workout or a stretch or all of the things, like, I love that piece of, like, not having yoga in a box, and I'm starting to I never, like, had the passion initially to study yoga, like, I just wanted to do it. I wanted to
Mhm.
listen and follow other people, but in the last, like, year or so, I'm like, "Maybe I'll study it more," like, I'm feeling called to really study, like, more what yoga is on the bigger picture, like you're
Mhm.
saying, it's, like, about the breath work, it's about the integration of mind, body, spirit, soul, like,
Mhm.
all of the pieces, and I don't know why I've always just never really dove in, but now that I'm starting to do that and reading books on it, I think I'm reading, what's it called? Inner Engineering of a Yogi right now. It
Cool.
just is such it is a life practice of, like, it's talking about what you're eating and it's nothing new as far as, like, general concepts of looking after ourselves as a whole person, but when I hear people say, "I do or don't like yoga," which I've heard a lot recently, I'm like,
Really?
that's not really how this works." Like, which there's so many aspects of it. It's not a do and don't
Mhm.
like, it's a are we it just is a tool for living fully, and like you said, the learning piece of like, I started studying Kundalini a little bit, just
Ooh, cool.
practicing Kundalini more a couple of years ago because it was integrated into some of the other practices I was doing, and it was so triggering for me and making me so mad at life. I'm like, "I can't breathe like this," that I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I have to do this because I obviously need it to, like, chill out the part of me that is, like, stressed out by Kundalini." And it brought in I've never felt energy quite the same way that I do when I'm doing Kundalini yoga and breath work, right? So, I echo everything that you're saying is it just is such a lifestyle to be a to grow and be a whole person and to look after yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like I'm like running out of time and there's so much to learn and like, I've learned like, had the sutras in my trainings, but like want to go back because I'm not like really remembering that. And like I've just like I think Sharda, my teacher, just hit the alumni group on Facebook. It was like, "What books are you reading?" I'm like, "Yes, please. Like, I need something digestible." Like, talking
Yeah.
about books, Meditations on the Mat is a really good one. I don't know if you've read that.
Okay.
It breaks down, like, the yamas and niyamas in a pretty, like,
Okay.
modern way, and it's, like, really digestible. It's like daily reads with meditations, like, would be great for,
Oh, I
like
love that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
like a
like
daily practice.
yeah, mine was, like, shredded, so I finally, like, rebought another one of those, years ago, and, yeah, it's just, like, I just am always like, "I need wanna learn more," and, like, the integration piece and like, the history is, I think, super important, and it's not, like, taught very much. The
Right.
sutras and the yamas and the niyamas, and I don't teach off of that very often, so I'm always trying to challenge myself, like, "Hey, like, go back so we can integrate that more," and it's, back to, like, what you said, just, like, a way of, like, integration and living that you're probably already doing. It's just in another, like,
Yeah.
perspective, most likely.
Yeah, and that's it, right? There's a lot of different religions too, when people
Mhm.
like have some conflict about yoga conflicting with whatever their religious beliefs are. And I'm like, I don't I don't I don't see the world that way as like black and white. I see it as like there's different sources to the same tree of life. So whether you're going through yoga or Catholicism or Christianity or Buddhism, like, is my personal belief, So I'm like, it's not one or the other. And you don't have to take all the pieces of yoga. If you're finding like those pieces that are lighting you up and like giving you guidance in Catholicism or Christianity, go for it and just come to yoga for the breath work
Yeah.
but you're still gonna be able to access source through that, in my opinion, right? Like you're still
Yeah.
coming back to center and like the peace and the stillness and the love and all of the things that are the core of life. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you can kind of dabble in how you want to approach it, but ultimately it can be the lifestyle if you're like me and you.
And I think, like, back to what you said, I think, mentioning Hindu goddesses and gods and goddesses can sound really scary, especially if you're, more in the Christianity or Catholic realm. But I feel like I was learned about Greek gods and goddesses growing up and just like
Yes.
in my Catholic school. And so it's not scary. It's just like another story to like maybe connect to or maybe not to, just like Jesus's
Yeah.
stories. Like, I mean, I feel like it's all very similar in that realm, but we don't have to, like, go
Yes. Each to their own.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. But so it sounds like yoga and where are you from originally, Chelsea?
so I'm originally from the Midwest. I
Okay.
grew up going out to Colorado on spring break, so after college, I, like, moved to Colorado for, I think, 12 years, and then most
Oh,
recently, in 2019, we found a spot up here and slowly made the
okay,
move up.
nice.
Yeah, so
That's funny because I was born in England, but then I moved to Kansas. So like we would go like Fort
oh, yeah.
Collins, funnily enough, we would go to like church camp in Fort Collins. And then as I
Yeah.
got older, it was like cool, like Fort Collins is super fun and hip and trendy, right? What a fun place to do your
So
yoga
great.
training. And
Yeah.
now then here I am in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know you were from well, I knew you're from what you said the UK or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought your
Yeah.
husband was or something for some reason, but you're from there.
He's
Okay.
from Coeur d'Alene. He's the one that got me here in the first place.
Got it. Yeah, that's so
So
cool.
yeah. So
Yeah.
your journey has gone from like yoga training and like
Yeah.
2011-ish to now, like, you're hosting retreats and you have this collective up here. So how did you bridge
Yeah.
that gap?
Yeah. So gosh, I've worked a 9 to 5 for the last almost 10 years in tech and marketing, but I've always taught, like, a class or 2, but yoga's just felt so, like, deep. It's like, you need to be in this space more, and,
Yes.
I've been super passionate about it for so long, like, the physical and the spiritual piece of it, and I think Mayura Yoga Collective's always been there, like, in one way. I've always just like, "Can I do this?" Or, like, "How can I start this?" And it's just, like, never gone anywhere. And,
Yeah.
I feel like there was a huge shift for me that I noticed, like, a couple of years ago. So, I was teaching for a long time at different studios in Fort Collins, and then I took a break in 2020, like many,
Yeah.
pandemic, but also, like, I was transitioning here and all of that. So kind of took a break there, but still was practicing at home and then eventually started back at the studio and then picked up classes from there. But like I said, the shift happened, I would say a couple of years ago. I just remember like struggling to set like boundaries in my life and finding myself just like mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually exhausted from supporting others, but not like taking care of myself. Like, and it felt pretty heavy. And I just remember the night specifically, I'm like, all right, this is not sustainable. Like, I need to get some help. And so, like, to shift, I found a therapist and someone in SandPoint that I needed someone to talk to kind of like work through whatever this was that I was going through. Like, just like, it's like, it was maybe an unhappiness that I wouldn't admit at the time, but I think through the process, I just discovered that like I had completely lost myself from like maybe like 2019 from that transition to like a couple of years ago. And talk therapy had really changed that for me. We did like a lot of like inner work, and I do feel like it's so important to address like that piece before you can start a business or like move forward. Like I hadn't, the purpose was always there in my heart space, but like I had to work through some stuff to like
Yeah.
to see it fully, I think. And I noticed like confidence changed, my relationships started to feel better. Like I truly did feel that just like with different perspective, and that purpose really started coming up. So I think I told you maybe that I want to call her my mentor, my therapist, my mentor, because she is.
Yeah.
She actually leads international transformative trips
Okay.
and has been doing that for 15 years. So she's, therapy in like when you're in more of like that transition space, I would say was kind of her like specialty. And I didn't really even think about that when I found her, was referred to her. I just was like, call her up, like, gotta get in. And when I found out she did trips, it just felt really aligned. Like, travel's been a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And like, when I was in between jobs or like ready to move on to another job, I'm always like, could I be a travel agent? Like, how do I should I get into travel insurance? Like, how do I get into this space? And
Yeah.
it just like dropped in a little bit. And she was like, I think you need to host we were starting to talk more about like yoga and like purpose and how to, since that we had like done the work, and just it naturally like shifted into this space of like, well, what's kind of next almost, or like, what are little steps? And she's like, I think you should host a retreat. And she's like, you should do a regional retreat. You should maybe the like hot springs. And I was like, and all of it, I just like latched on.
Maybe.
Yeah. And
Oh,
she went on a trip that's like, I don't know, it's probably about this time. Was it last year maybe? And I just was like hyper focused and created Healing Hands, Healing Waters and yoga and massage retreat at that beautiful hot springs resort. And that's kind of where
yeah.
the retreat piece started. But, not to
I
ramble on,
love it.
the yoga piece didn't drop in until like January, I would say, like
Your
after
what piece didn't drop until January?
the Mayura Yoga Collective piece,
Oh,
like didn't drop
yeah. Didn't drop
in
until.
until January. And I think you had said something, another woman from the retreat had mentioned, like, do you have, and it's not about social media, but like, do you have a business piece, like not just Chelsey Peacock yoga? And that like kept like popping up in my head, like after the retreat. The travel piece was always there and the yoga piece. And I wasn't sure like what I wanted though. Like I was working with my mentor and I wasn't sure what I wanted this to look like how I was going to collaborate, like where was this going? And eventually it dropped in. I don't think I even mentioned the community part of yoga and how that's been such an amazing piece of yoga for me, was the community piece. And so Mayura, I don't know if you want this little snippet, but means,
Yes, I do. I was going to ask
yeah.
you. Yes.
Mayura means peacock in Sanskrit, and peacock's my last name. So it obviously felt natural. And
Yeah.
I explored the spiritual piece about this, like just kind of researching a little bit deeper across cultures in peacock folklore. They say peacocks transform poison into vibrant colors of their feathers, like as a
That's
metaphor.
amazing.
Yeah. And I just feel like, we're all kind of moving through some sort of transformation, whether it's
Yeah.
big or small. And that just felt like a really cool piece. I mean, not to mention they're proudly beautiful, unapologetic, like, that's, like,
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
energy I wanted, and so, like, it started with Mayura, and went yoga because, like, that's where I feel most at home, and collective because I want it to be a collaboration and community with people that have come to the retreats, but also, like, with teachers, like, I want it just to be this, like, larger thing that's not just, like, me, so
Yeah.
that's, like,
Oh, for sure.
what brought me to, I guess, here, but
Amazing. Oh my gosh, you said so much gold right there. Because I think even the piece of like going through the therapy and like really having I've done similar and like starting thinking you're gonna start and like kind of having a vision, but then like just start to feel the cloud or know that there's some kind of deeper block that you're like, what is this? And
yeah.
you reach out to someone, right? You're like, I can't go through this by myself. I need someone to almost like help me just see it and work through it. But then to be able to do that work after dabbling in it, but then to be able to come through and be like kind of a liberated human being and like, okay, here and we're both in midlife. I know we're both about the same age, but so,
Mhm.
like, around, like, that midpoint where you're like, "I've lived," right? Like, I've done dumb stuff. I've explored. I've, like, been mean to my body. I've found yoga. I've,
Mhm.
like, really starting to honor who you are and why you're here and listening to those voices. Like, it sounds like you're it's cool to look back and, like, see like, yoga was always there, travel was always there. You were always like, saying you were always, like, kind of knew there was something more, but then at this platform, when you've done the work, it all starts to, like, come together. It's kinda like the universe is like, okay, yeah, now you've got like space in your psyche, in your body to hold this whole new. I can give you the pieces of how it's going to come together. And then it does from people saying, hey, maybe it should be travel and yoga. And like, it just feels like you're just listening and like the pieces has always been there, but now they're coming together, which is so cool because we talk about this and people are like, wait, what are you talking about? Are you sure? You have to trust, but you also have to show up for yourself, believe, do the work, right? So that
Mhm.
the space can even be within yourself and the confidence and the people to support you along the way, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, and how can I hold space for others if I can't even hold space for myself? Like,
Sure.
that was like I was just like maxed out, and yeah, like I think you really do have to like pay attention to those because it's like that deeper like heart space, whatever it is, the purpose or whatever, Sankalpa we talked about a little bit, not to give everything
Yeah.
away, but like at the retreat, but just talking about that like inner light, and when there's so much noise going on around you, you can't really pay attention to that as much. So
Yeah.
I think,
Well, I don't know about you, but I think it's just being part of the world, which we've all signed up for, right? We've all signed up to be here, but
mhm,
it's easy to be in the noise of the world, like taking the time to like go in, to listen, to reflect. And for me, even someone once said, like, you're good at going to the mat and following other people's guidance, but are you actually doing the inner work, not just and it was kind of a twofold, right? Like whenever I do yoga, whether I'm following someone else or it's me flowing myself, like there's that space to go in but I mean, her point was you're just taking in you're following other people, you're taking in other people's support, but you're not actually allowing the space to fully hold space for yourself and do the healing and the listening that you need to do. Like she was kind of like, get back into your own body because you're outside of your body living to support and help and feed
mhm.
all the other people. And it was very powerful to have someone say that. Sounds like
Yeah.
you're similar, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard to, things still come up. This isn't like an ended journey. Like, I have got my meeting with my mentor, here in July. So, like, it's always just like learning. You're just noticing different patterns or like habits that you might have that's like need work on, and like just having that awareness. And I think yoga set the it brings so much awareness, like it starts with just listening
Mhm.
to, like, the cues of where you're moving to have that awareness to connect the cue to your body, to move your body in that way. So, like, starting from physical,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. It just is gonna open up.
Right.
I feel like portals just, like, keep opening up, from there, but yeah, I think.
Oh, totally. Well, and I think from there, like you're saying, then trusting like the thoughts that are dropping in is not just randomness, but like
Yeah.
actual guidance, right? Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I think for me, even with coming back to the podcast and like not holding myself as the expert, right?
Yeah.
Like I can tell everyone else,
Right.
like the goal isn't perfection, but some like inner story to myself was still like, but you need to have it figured out. And that's not the goal of life. Like
Yeah.
life is an entire journey from like birth to grave, right? Of learning and evolving, and things
Yeah.
are always changing, which is the beauty of life. So it's like,
Mhm.
release that story, Gem. Like
Oh my
that's not
gosh.
serving anyone.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I feel like had gone through a period during this darkish time where I was one way. It needs to be one way, like teaching class, like
Mhm.
things had to be one way, and that's not gonna work. There's so much to learn. I'm not an expert on yoga. Like, there's so many ways to do things, and I've just like dropped that story. But that like really held me back a lot, I think, and held me back from this vision of like the community focus. Like, we're all
Yeah.
just walking each other home, as Ram Dass says. So.
Right. Yeah. So tell us more about the collective. What is it? Are you having I actually don't know a lot about it. Are you
Oh
having
yeah.
different, like, yoga sessions and different teachers are coming in, right?
Yeah, so I am doing a lot more pop-ups across SandPoint. I don't It's not live yet, but I have like 2 series this summer at a newer space outside that I'm really excited about. It's just like collaborating with different spaces. Ruby and I did a yoga and massage. I think I sent that to you last winter. That was just like dreamy. It was restorative yoga, just like trying to put the learnings I had done with Janet Stone into practice. So that was really amazing. Um, it's really about just, pop-ups. Obviously, my classes are like the foundation. I'm teaching 4 classes now, this summer, which is wild. It's the
Oh,
most I've ever taught, but, with a 9 to 5. And yeah, Ruby and I obviously are collaborating again this fall for Healing Hands, Healing Waters. And I'm actually working on a Pilates yoga adventure retreat in Costa Rica next year with some friends that are,
amazing. Costa
yeah, I'm
Rica, like, that's like
real.
airplane. That's like
I
real
know.
international.
Gemma,
Look
you
at
get
you.
it. Yeah, I know. So that was kind of the goal for next year. So yeah, just little by little, eventually would like to do more each year. Uh, have like dropped some lines with, people just like, we should do this sometime. And then just like, we'll just see what happens. I'm going to Yellowstone next weekend, and a good friend of
Oh,
mine is as a guide there. And I've played around with maybe like a backpacking Yellowstone adventure thing. We'll see. I don't
amazing.
know.
Yeah, no, it's so powerful though, because I feel like I've messaged you a few times. I'm like, I'm sharing things with friends. Like there's this craving for community, for and this kind of community. I
Yeah.
think when I went to the yoga retreat last year, I didn't know what to expect. I really kind of tagged on with Tasha. I was like, what? This sounds amazing. Massage, hot springs, yoga, Canada, like all of it just felt. And I've honestly, as much as I've done yoga and as I rant about yoga, I've never done a yoga retreat, which people are like, what? But it's always for me been kind of sacred to myself, which the community piece I want to explore more, but it's also been also working a 9 to 5 and now having small children, right? Like I'm doing yoga at such random times. Like it's 5
Totally.
a.m. or it's 9 p.m. or it's like 1:30 in the afternoon, whatever. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
But going up to the retreat and being like, we were intimately together for like 3 days, right? Like we had the 2 houses and it was a sisterhood of women that were all of the ages, right? Like
Mhm.
it fully crossed the gamut and we're sitting around having beautiful meals cooked by that amazing chef. Oh my
Oh
gosh,
my
I'm
gosh.
still like imagining that meal right now, like
He's
so
coming
good.
back next year.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he was so
I
cute too. Like,
I
I
know.
just come and serve you guys amazing food.
I know.
But just the piece of, like, being with a group of women, like, whether we were soaking or doing yoga side by side, and then just, like, sitting around in the evening or making your amazing crafts, like, I just put my essential oil roller on this morning, which I'm still in love with. There was just the community, and it was just so organic, right? And this is
Mhm.
probably more for me because I don't get a lot of female community like that, just like a group of us. Who does, right? We're just sitting around for 3 nights together. But it
Totally.
was so powerful just how real and easy it was. Like, there was no we were all, like, makeupless and, like, in our, like, hangout clothes, and I'm like
Tea.
it just felt so, like, liberating. It felt so liberating just to be, like, seen and heard and realize all of the things of just, like, we're not that different from each other, right?
Yeah. I mean, gosh, you just summarized it. I mean, that's, like, all I could ask for that you could walk away with is, like, just feeling seen, supported, liberated. I feel like that, like, sense of freedom is something I'm always just, like, craving, and I
Yeah.
do feel that on my yoga mat, and those are the
Yes.
spaces I'm trying to create is, like, yeah, there's this, like, inner solo piece of yoga. You're on your individual yoga mat. You're, like, in your body. You really do, like, tap into that home space, like, where everything is, like, the noise stops. But there is a sense of, like, sisterhood, especially, like, as we go more and more on our phones or, like, whatever
Yeah.
technology, like, we're moving in this technological revolution, it seems like, and
Yeah.
I think these spaces are more important than ever to just, like, have space and time.
Yeah, together in person,
Yeah,
right?
together in person, and I mean, like,
Yeah.
traveling, like, the people I've met traveling, I feel, like, so, like, connected to, and I think there's something really powerful about the people you meet outside of that, like, daily routine and rhythm.
Well, that's so beautifully said. I meant to go back and ask you about travel before and, like, how
Oh,
it, like but I think that you tapped on it right there. It's, like, the aliveness of,
mhm.
like, people especially when you are traveling in places where you're, like, people are from all around the world, from all aspects of life, like, experiencing and once you get into a random conversation with someone, like, wherever you are in the world, to be able to feel, like, the aliveness of, like, the world and whether or in, like, sisterhood with in Canada, like, I don't know, it feels like more of aliveness is all I can really say. How
Yeah.
would you explain that in your love of
Yeah,
travel?
I mean, you're kind of, like, hitting it. It's really hard to explain, right? Like,
Yeah,
unless you're there, and, like, I've even had, my friend, like, "What's the value purpose of, this investment?" And it is so hard to explain, and
yeah,
I have a hard time putting it into words unless you're there, like, we
yeah,
all come with our story of, like, whatever we're carrying with and just, like, we're dropped into this, like, time and space and,
yeah.
I don't
And the
know.
slow unravel of, like, getting to know each other, like, the stories that kind of came out over dinner or, like, a
Mm.
side conversation, and you're like, "Shit, like, you've been through that?" And, like,
Yeah.
here you are, like, standing and they're like everyone's got something that they have gone through that has gotten them to where they are now and lessons learned, and, like, there is pain and love and all of the things, but to be able to get to know someone slowly and just see and feel those depths that other people have been through to get where they are today is like frisson right now.
Yeah, totally, I know. It's, like, inspiring, and it just makes you feel more human, like,
Yeah.
we're all in our bubbles and, like, maybe, like, how you grew up, you have this, like, idea in your head of how things should be or, like, you strive for this because this should be this way, and it's like, we're all just living and going through our own thing and just is what it is. And it's probably not making much sense, but
No, it is, but it's like there is where like we can feel so separate in nowadays,
Mhm.
right? And I think part of that, I've been off social media. I stopped podcasting raw because I'm like, this feels like this isn't the connection that I'm going for. Like the one-on-one personal, like getting to know people is what I crave. I think was what we all crave. And then when we're
Mhm.
trying to fill it through this facade of technology, like there's a lot of good that comes from it, but it's not filling that like
One
one-on-one, like connection. So being able to come full circle, I think is so powerful and be like, yes, we do live in this world in 2026. And that is how a lot of people communicate. But there is a need for the deep connectivity and community that we're all craving that can't happen through Instagram or whatever other platform
no,
that I'm too old to care about. Like
no.
it's it's
Yeah,
coming full circle to realize that like most things, you just need variations of everything so that you can feel like a whole person.
yeah, I agree.
So good. So do you have a retreat this summer too?
No, we don't
No,
anymore.
no, just the
Yeah.
one in November. Okay, and then Costa Rica. Yes,
Yeah,
amazing.
Costa Rica.
Awesome.
So I'm hoping to launch that by July, but we'll see how that goes. It's yeah.
It'll happen as it's meant to,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so I know we've talked a lot about yoga as, like, your mechanism for, like, coming back to yourself, but just in, like, the daily ebbs and flows of life, right? When you can't hit the mat. When you can't hit the mat and, like, peace out from the rest of the world, how do you, like, keep yourself aligned and, like, healthy and sane in all of the things?
Yeah, I think that, for me, just like looking back at like what's worked for me, obviously looking for help when you need it is like so important.
Yeah.
That's like that was a big foundation, but like on the lighter side, when I can't go to yoga, which I really try and go like twice a week, I do love that like class style for me personally.
Yeah.
But I've found meditation again over the last year. I had like a huge blockage there for many years. And I think even on my like, I don't know if you would call it an intake form with my mentor, I was
Yeah.
talking about the spiritual side and I was so far from that. Like I couldn't even wrap my head around what that would look like at that point in time. But I do remember like writing something about like I've got this blockage with meditation that I'd like to come back to. And one day, I mean, I think over maybe a little over a year ago, it just like dropped in and I'm able to sit. And it started with like 2 minutes and like just 2 minutes every day before I go make my coffee, before I go downstairs. I've got like my, space upstairs near my room. I just like sit for 2 minutes and slowly you can increase that. But that's been super impactful for me, just, like, setting the tone for the day, especially, like, if work can be stressful, like, that just really makes a shift for me, and daily walks with my dog. We have this just, like, gravel road up the way, but there's this, like, beautiful cedar grove, but it doesn't have to be in a beautiful cedar grove, just, like, getting out, like, leaving your phone at home, going for a walk. I know it sounds simple, but it's like those like little foundations that like, hey, like stay aligned, like stay connected. Like if you feel yourself spiraling, like just step away, go for a
I
walk.
love that. And find
Yeah.
like for me, it's like finding the inner peace and choosing the inner peace. Like
Mhm.
choosing to be like, I'm gonna come back to the silence, which honestly, both of those are forms of meditation, right? Like going outside, being in nature, walking your dog, like it's so meditative and just like stare at the birds, listen to the birds, like feel the breeze on your face. Like
Mhm.
it's really just choosing to come back to peace and
Yeah.
like letting, "Oh, okay, let all the chaos like flow off of me," or I love that. So and
Yeah.
I think that's the key really more and more for me is simplicity. Like if it feels hard, that's not what we're trying to accomplish here.
I know. Yeah. All about simplicity. I 100% agree with that. You just have
Love
to, like,
it.
think about the small things that, like, pull you out of maybe, like, that fight or flight or just, like, stressful. moments. I mean, that's kind of where I like coming. I mean, you're working and you're full-time mom. Like that's a whole other layer. And just having just some small tools to come back to in moments where you need it the most, I think really like
Yeah.
helped me. It doesn't have to be like some, big ritual thing. It can just literally be just like stepping outside for a minute.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, in the yogi classic fashion, right? Coming back to the breath. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Coming
I
back to the
haven't
breath.
mentioned that at
Like,
all, but yeah.
I read it on your like little profile when I was looking on Instagram. I'm like, how am I gonna write her? But I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Like one breath at a time. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'd love that. Ooh, is there anything else you're feeling called to share or topics you want to cover today, Chelsea?
Hey, gosh, I mean, I feel like I should give a plug to Healing Hands, Healing Waters a little bit.
Yes, of course, do it.
I
Yes,
mean, you
yes,
already kind
yes.
of did, but Ruby and I are so excited for the one coming up this November. We're planning like this little surprise that I'm really excited about, but it's, 4 days of hot springs, yoga, community, chef prepared meals, Ruby's amazing massages, and it should be a really lovely time. So I'm really excited for that. But yeah,
We'll post it too in our notes so everyone can just
cool.
go check it out. And it's
Yeah.
for me, it was when I looked and I'm like, it was all of the things that I was looking for, right? Like water, hot springs, nature, a massage, like sold and sold. Plus the yoga. I have to give a plug to your yoga actually. Because I do a lot of YouTube yoga, friends. I really do. Like that gives me the mechanism and
Yep.
then I can do it whenever. But I've never been to yoga, you and Ruby both. That you're like, even your music choices are like super fun and kind of random and like what I've experienced. But I'm like so like feminine or energetic, depending like what kind of class you're teaching, but just so fun and powerful and feminine and yeah. So it
Thank
was,
you.
yeah, I would highly recommend going.
I appreciate that. I really, I'm trying to I will, I'm intentional with everything I do. I mean, I've planned every class for the last 13 years, and some people probably would like I admire people that are able to just like wing it, but I just like it's just part of me. Like the music has to be dialed and the sequence has to be made, and that keeps me super present and not distracted. And I think you feel that you're able to really like drop into that heart space instead of the head space because I stumbled or like messed up the sequence. Well, whatever. I mean, not to say
Yeah, yeah,
do that here, but like that
yeah.
you notice those things, that's like important to me because I do like plan
Yeah.
from the class to the yoga retreat. Everything I try and do is intentional. So
No, but I love that. Like there's freestyle has a place, but when you're even for like me showing up in the world, like if there's intentionality and like confidence, because I
uh
have actually thought it through and I know I'm being strategic, like there is just a lightness and a like you can focus on like the energy at hand and not the process. I
yeah,
completely agree.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kinda, like,
I
puts
love
me in
it.
the background and you, like, in the heart space, which is, like, what we want, right? Like, out of
Yeah,
that head space.
exactly. Well, we've talked about I always end with like by my definition of vibrant living, glowing from the inside out. What's one small thing people can do today? But I feel like we've honestly
I
covered
know.
so much. Like go on a walk with your dog, do some breathing, like take 2 minutes to sit.
You're
Yeah.
summarizing, like, what I would even say, like, getting
Yeah.
in community too, like, I know we
Well
can feel
said.
so isolated times, like, maybe even right now, and just making sure you reconnect with those friends, that maybe you haven't in a while. I think that's, like, also really important too. Like, yeah, sit for 2 minutes a day, take the walk, listen to the music,
Yeah.
dance to the music, like, do all those things.
Right. Yeah.
But also
Sign up
that
for a yoga retreat and
sign up
make new
for a yoga
friends.
retreat, put yourself first.
Yeah. No, honestly. Cause I think there's such a balance between like, going to the yoga retreat is such, like, a unique space to, like, come back to yourself. Yes, you're gonna go back into the real world, but sometimes we just need those, like, 3 nights, 4 days, 5 hours in a car to Canada to not be like, "Mom, mom, mom, mom." I'm like,
No,
"Oh, I can hear myself." Like, this is me connecting with girlfriends over silly, fun, random things. Like, there's just something to be said for giving yourself that space beyond like the 2 minutes in the morning or the hour on the mat to like a whole 4 days to get back to yourself is so powerful.
I agree.
So good. Chelsey, so good to see you.
Oh my
Thank you so much
gosh.
for joining me today.
Thank you. This was so nice. I'm so happy we got to reconnect, and hopefully we can get together this summer. I do want to put together that little group meeting, like our group from last year. I think that'd be really cool to get together somehow. So still working
get up to
through that.
SandPoint and come see you. Yeah,
We'll
I'll
make it
come up to
somehow.
SandPoint. We'll connect in person.